Hello everybody, this is Hunter Starcraft, and today we're going to be looking at a 1 versus 1 on Blistering Sands. I'm excited to introduce the green player first. This is oGs.StC, one of the best players in the clan, and one of the best clans in Starcraft too, so I'm certainly have high expectations of this player today. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with him. I'm sure you've seen, replays or commentaries done by this player before. Or of this player rather. So certainly let's expect big things of him. His opponent spawning across Blistering Sands is going to be the purple Protoss player. Now the direct translation of these Korean symbols is not quite clear. The best translation I could come up with was Asia, so I'm just going to call him Asia. So yeah, he's going to be the purple Protoss player putting down that pylon, not at the top of his ramp, but a little closer to home. Going to save a few seconds of mining time by putting it a little closer. Going to be chrono boosting his probes out as soon as that pylon arrives as well. Very standard opener for the Protoss. Putting the supply depot up for STC. He has just put it up right behind his mineral line. Always a good safe spot for that initial supply depot. Going to reduce the mobility of any, Protoss offensive that may occur behind the mineral patch. Very high APM for Protoss here for Asia. Definitely spamming that APM early. The initial barracks as well, just going down standard timing, and a few seconds later the first refinery has arrived. Scouting has begun for each player. STC's SCV leaving his base just a little bit after the probe for Asia. So definitely important to get that scouting done, especially on a map like this where the rush distance by foot is quite long. So both players going to arrive at roughly the same time, and going to get all that vital information. The assimilator arriving just a few seconds before the gateway, going to send 3 workers to begin mining that vital gas. And this gateway has arrived. Let's see when he's going to put down the cybernetics core as well. So just sort of a little wall off here, going to make it a little bit more difficult for, any push that may occur. But yeah, so nothing too unusual. Going to pick up some of those minerals, and it looks like this SCV is going to just scoot right out of the base. And for the probe here, he has taken some minerals of his own. The barracks was rallied onto the probe's location, so this probe now hiding behind the weeds. Very common place to, hide your worker and try to deke and dangle away from any attacking unit that may be present. SCV coming in for a second peek. He has taken a look at the gateway, and for all STC knows, that might be a stalker coming out, so he has opted actually not to leave, but to sort of sneak along the outskirts of the Protoss base behind the weeds as well. So both players utilizing the weeds to sort of keep their worker out of sight. Orbital Command has arrived along with a reactor as well. That's sort of the first instance of moving away from a standard build order, and going to get a tech lab on the second racks as well. So 1 reactor, 1 tech lab, as well as a robotics facility for Asia. This Stalker, this is bad news for the SCV, as the Stalker does arrive behind the weeds. And look at that, he doesn't actually spot the SCV. So that SCV was able to find a sweet spot behind the weeds, or sort of amongst the weeds more so, as that is sort of a little, not a glitch, but just one of those little StarCraft quirks where it makes it very difficult to detect. So yeah, take note of that, kind of an advanced little tip there. The first Stalker for Asia is heading out on, a little bit further scouting duty. These Marines making sure there's no funny proxies going up, at the natural expansion or anything like that. We may actually see something of an early push here, as we do have production occurring at two racks, along with those stim packs on the way. And now this SCV headed to the Xel'Naga, I believe. He is going to pick up that Xel'Naga. Very vital to control those as much as possible. Warp Gate research has arrived. Not arrived, it is being researched right now. It is going to arrive in any second now. A second gateway, as well as that initial observer coming out for Asia, saving up quite a number of chrono boosts as well, at 70 energy at this point. And look at this SCV finally revealing himself, and Asia realizes, I've been had. There was an SCV amongst the bushes the whole time, so that is very crucial. I mean, the SCV is going to see all 3 warp gates, he's going to see the robotics facility, and going to know exactly what build order Asia has utilized. And given that vital scouting information, STC has opted to do something of a push at this point. There is an observer overhead, so this, Asia is not going to be completely in the dark at this point, but it looks like, is he going to go for the natural? Is he going to go for the destructible rocks? Not quite sure yet. We're going to find out. This SCV making a little bit of a mistake heading up the ramp. Not the wisest decision. I would have probably just sort of followed that SCV out. That SCV would have been taken out. But at this point, we do have the destructible rocks going down. I like the placement of this pylon, going to keep an eye on this back door, so Asia does know that this is coming. He hasn't opted to move in just yet. It does look like these destructible rocks are going to go down, so that is bad news for Asia. He is going to have an exposed back door. This first Marine reaching the top of the ramp almost, but getting force field and sort of stuck there. But this observer is going to see exactly what's going on. And a bunker has gone up at the bottom of the ramp as well. Kind of an unusual strategy, but pretty cool nonetheless. And now that STC is on the offensive, he has opted to expand. I like the force field there, going to split the Marines in half and only having to engage a smaller number of infantry at the top of the ramp. We've got these Zealots, Sentries, and Stalker going to be going to town on these infantry units for Terran. Going to be reinforcing this army very quickly, and it looks like although the army was split in half, that was still relatively an even exchange. In fact, it looks like the Protoss player has lost about 325 more minerals or more resources worth of units at this point. So STC, considering that to be a successful attack, is opting to fall back, and that is something that very few StarCraft players know how to do. It just takes a lot of discipline to know when to retreat. Truly. Just wanted to make that point real quick. Pulling up the production tab, we do see concussive shells on the way. So very, very important when going up, especially a Protoss army of this composition. Going to slow the units. Getting another reactor on the factory and this starport as well. I'm going to produce the initial medevac. So quite diverse production facilities for STC. Upon that natural expansion being saturated, he has opted to go 5 racks and then starport as well. Now, if STC was just a master at Terran, he would actually spot this observer, because you can spot it even with, even though it's cloaked, obviously, and he could use a scan, but that, we can't fault him for that. That is so difficult to do. Nonetheless, we do have a medevac that has arrived. We're going to see what he uses it to just, if he's going to do drop plays or if he's just going to use it to bolster the HP of his army. Now, after creating the reactor on the factory has lifted off, and now using the reactor on the starport, going to be pumping out those medevacs. See if he gets any Vikings soon as well. We'll just have to wait and see. This is a pretty vital building that has just arrived in the back of the base for the Asia. This scanner just a little bit off the mark. Could have spotted that robotics bay if it was placed a little bit better. I believe there was a scan that just went down here as well. So sort of playing mind games at this point with the Protoss army. And here we go. We've got a drop. Asia is not aware of this. He does not have anything spotting the ground over here. And let's see how long it takes for Asia to react here, as it does look like we are going to have these Marines stimming up, moving in. They are going to be taking out these SCVs, or sorry, probes rather. 4 probes going down, stimming up, going to be taking out this robotics facility, reacting quite well, trying to get these Protoss units into position as quick as possible, but Asia does not want to lose this robotics bay. That is just going to be so detrimental, and it does go down. That is a big loss indeed, losing that robotics bay. Still he has 1 Colossus on the way. All at the same time, we do have a bursting in of infantry at the front door, going to take down that Immortal. Now going toe-to-toe, pretty even exchange here. Lots of Stalkers, Sentries as well, doing the force fields, trying to limit the mobility of the infantry ball. But another drop at the top, so we've got a 2-pronged attack here, making it very difficult for Asia to deal with it. This Immortal getting trapped on the ramp, not getting any shots off. Little bit of a miss micro there, but can't really fault him for that, as he does not only have to deal with the natural expansion, but now falling back to deal with the infantry that were dropped at the main, and even more drops occurring at the natural. So we've got double drops constantly moving in, forcing the Protoss player on his toes, forcing him to defend his main, to defend his natural, and just making his life very difficult. I want to take a look at the income tab, as we do have quite a distinct income advantage at this point. About 18 worker advantage for STC at this point, and just continuing to harass. It's just very difficult forcing the Protoss player to split his army in half, forcing those pivotal decisions, and just keeping the pressure on, really punishing the Protoss player for expanding this soon, and punishing the Protoss player for letting those destructible rocks fall so early, as now we've got to push at the back door. This pylon is in position, to make sure that, you know, the Protoss player does know about this. So we've got a big push coming in here at the main base, as well as a drop at the natural. And now look at how out of position the Protoss army is. We got the robotics facility that's just gone down, and it looks like this infantry ball is just going to have free reign for, you know, these crucial seconds that it takes for the Protoss army to get into position. Vikings overhead as well, going to be very threatening to the Colossus. Mineral line harassment, and just such dire circumstances for Asia at this point. Very difficult to deal with. Such, you know, again, getting drops at the natural, getting high pressure at the back door of the main base, really punishing this Protoss player. And that is it. That is all she wrote for Asia. Asia bounces out of this game. So once again, really displaying, showcasing STC's ability to use the Terran mobility, doing double drops all game long virtually, taking down those destructible rocks early, and just keeping and pouring the pressure on. I really do like this play by STC. I hope you guys enjoyed this game. Check my channel for many more games in the days to come. And this is Hunter Starcraft here saying peace out.